You see a video of a financial expert. They speak with absolute certainty, using complex charts and impressive jargon. You find yourself nodding along, feeling a sense of clarity and trust, but later you realize you agreed to a premise that your logical mind should have questioned. What happened? Why did your critical thinking faculty suddenly go offline? This experience is not a failure of your intelligence. In fact, it's a testament to the efficiency of your brain's ancient survival software. You have a mental shortcut, an obedience switch, that is designed to make you defer to perceived authority figures. It's a mechanism that evolved to keep you safe within a tribal structure, but it can be a catastrophic liability in the modern financial world. This obedience switch is the core of a cognitive bias known as the authority bias. It's the tendency to attribute greater accuracy and weight to the opinion of an authority figure, irrespective of the actual content. Your brain makes a simple calculation. This person looks and sounds like a leader, so following them is the safest, most energy-efficient option. Think about it. We are trained from birth to obey authority. Parents, teachers, doctors, bosses. This creates a powerful mental heuristic that serves us well most of the time. You don't double-check your surgeon's credentials before an operation. The problem is that in the world of finance, the symbols of authority can be easily manufactured, and they are not correlated with competence. So what are these misleading modern symbols? The triggers that flip your obedience switch are often completely unrelated to financial skill. They are theatrical props used to signal authority and bypass your rational mind. Once you learn to recognize these props for what they are, the entire illusion shatters. But first, we need to understand why this switch exists in the first place, back when it actually kept us alive. Imagine our ancestors on the savannah thousands of years ago. The tribe is a survival unit, and the leader is the keeper of critical knowledge. They know which plants are poisonous, where the predators hunt, and the safe path to the water source. In this environment, questioning the leader's authority is not just inefficient, it is a direct threat to your survival. An individual who stopped to run their own independent analysis on every single command would quickly fall behind, or, worse, become lion lunch. The individuals whose brains developed a fast and frugal heuristic, a simple rule like obey the confident leader, were far more likely to survive and pass on their genes. Your obedience switch is a direct inheritance from them. This brain wiring is so profound that it was famously demonstrated in the Milgram experiments in the 1960s. Participants were instructed by a man in a lab coat, a symbol of authority, to administer what they believed were painful electric shocks to another person. A shocking number of them complied, overriding their own moral compass, simply because an authority figure told them to. So we have this deeply ingrained instinct to defer to authority, which is triggered by specific environmental cues. In the past, those cues were simple: the strongest hunter, the wisest elder. Today, the cues are different. They are the modern-day equivalents of the lab coat and the chieftain's spear. They are the symbols of financial authority, and they are everywhere. The problem is that our ancient brain wiring cannot tell the difference between a real authority, someone with proven skill and integrity, and a performed authority, someone who has simply mastered the art of looking the part. The same switch gets flipped. This is the vulnerability that is constantly being targeted in the financial world, turning your survival instinct against you. Now that we understand the deep evolutionary roots of this bias, we can examine the specific modern triggers that financial gurus, marketers, and institutions use to activate it. These are the tools they use to bypass your logic and gain your compliance. Recognizing them is like getting a software update for your brain, allowing you to detect threats your original programming would miss. The first and most powerful trigger is social proof. When a guru has hundreds of thousands of followers, our brain assumes they must be credible. Why else would so many people listen? This is a shortcut that saves us the work of doing our own due diligence. But in the digital age, follower counts can be bought and testimonials can be faked. Social proof is a measure of popularity, not accuracy. The second trigger is the strategic use of jargon and complexity. By using terms and charts that you don't fully understand, an expert creates an intellectual distance. This makes you feel less intelligent and therefore less qualified to question them. Your brain's response is to defer to their superior knowledge. But true expertise simplifies the complex, it does not obscure with it. The third trigger is the projection of wealth and success, the classic trappings of authority. The luxury car, the mansion, the expensive watch. Your brain makes a simple, powerful connection. This person is rich, they are talking about money, therefore they must know how to make money. This completely bypasses the question of whether they made that money through their advice or by selling you that advice. The fourth trigger is absolute confidence. Our brains are wired to interpret confidence as a signal of competence. An expert who says, "This stock might go up," is perceived as less credible than one who says, "This stock is guaranteed to double." Uncertainty feels risky, while certainty feels safe, even if that certainty is completely unfounded. Real experts are comfortable with nuance and probability. Performers deal in absolutes. When you combine these triggers, high follower counts, complex jargon, displays of wealth, and unwavering confidence, you create a perfect storm that is almost irresistible to our ancient brain wiring. It's a carefully constructed performance designed to flip your obedience switch before your logical mind even has a chance to engage. The good news is, you can build a firewall. So how do you do it? How do you immunize yourself against these powerful psychological triggers without becoming a cynic who trusts no one? The solution is not to reject all authority, but to develop a new system for verifying it. A system that relies not on external symbols, but on internal critical thinking. This is how you take back control from the performers. The first principle of your new firewall is to separate the message from the messenger. When you hear a piece of advice, mentally strip it away from the person who said it. Imagine the same advice was given to you by a broke, unpopular person with no confidence. Does the idea still hold up on its own merits? This simple thought experiment neutralizes the authority triggers. Second, actively seek dissenting opinions, especially from qualified experts who lack the flashy marketing. For every guru promising a guaranteed outcome, find a boring, credentialed financial analyst who explains the risks. Your goal is not to find the right answer, but to understand the full spectrum of possibilities. The authority bias thrives in an echo chamber. It dies under cross-examination. Third, learn to translate their jargon. When an expert uses a complex term, don't just nod along. Pause and look it up. More often than not, you will find it's either a simple concept dressed in complicated language to intimidate you, or it's irrelevant to the core argument. Forcing yourself to understand the language is a powerful way to call their bluff and re-engage your logical mind. Fourth, and most importantly, investigate how the authority makes their money. Is it from the successful application of their own advice over many years, or is it from selling courses, books, and sponsorships to you? This is the ultimate litmus test. If their primary business is selling advice about a business, rather than running that business, you are a customer, not a student. By consistently applying these 4 filters, separating the message, seeking dissent, translating jargon, and following the money, you are no longer a passive recipient of information. You are an active investigator. You are not relying on your brain's flawed obedience switch. You are using your prefrontal cortex, your analytical engine, to do the job it was designed for. This creates true intellectual sovereignty. It's the ability to stand in a storm of confident, conflicting opinions and calmly navigate using your own internal compass. But this leads to a fascinating final question. Once you've learned to question external authorities, what do you do when the most convincing and most biased authority figure you have to face is your own brain? Today we've pulled back the curtain on the authority bias. You now know that the obedience switch in your brain is not a personal flaw, but a piece of evolutionary software. It was designed to keep you safe in a simple world, but leaves you vulnerable in a complex one. Its triggers are not signs of expertise, but symbols that can be easily manipulated. The key takeaway is this: your goal should not be to find the perfect authority to follow. Your goal is to become your own authority. By using the mental filters we discussed, scrutinizing the message, seeking dissent, translating jargon, and following the money, you transform yourself from a passive follower into an active, critical thinker. This is the foundation of all financial success. You are now equipped to navigate the world of external financial advice. You have a framework to dismantle the arguments of others and see them for what they are. This protects you from the most common forms of financial manipulation. But this new skill introduces a much more subtle and dangerous challenge that we must now address. Now that you can spot a flawed argument from someone else, what happens when your own mind constructs a flawless argument to justify a decision that was purely emotional? You made a list of pros and cons, you weighed the options, you concluded it was a perfectly rational choice. But what if that entire logical process was a complete illusion, a story you told yourself? This is the essence of the rationalization trap, a mechanism where your analytical mind becomes a brilliant lawyer for your worst emotional impulses. It is perhaps the most dangerous bias for intelligent, analytical people like you. The video on your screen right now is a deep dive into this exact trap. It will show you how to tell the difference between true logic and a convenient story. You have built the firewall to protect yourself from external manipulation. Now it is time to learn how to deal with the enemy within. To understand the mechanism that turns your greatest asset, your intelligence, against you, click the video on the screen now. It is the next essential step in mastering your financial mind and achieving true clarity in your decisions.